sure. This is live. Before anybody gives me any garbage, I'm letting you know right now. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Eddie made me do this. He's like, no, you're definitely going live today. I know it's Father's Day. You're definitely going live. Afterwards we'll celebrate Father's Day. So I said to him, I'll take the day off. He said, no, absolutely not. You're definitely doing it. I'm like, okay. Okay. So I'm going to celebrate with my family. I hope you guys are too. I'm glad that you're spending the day with us. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Even if you happen to be just like a cat dad or a dog dad, you're still a dad. You're still a dad. You're still the person that they come to, for reassurance. So, I count that. I count that. So anyways, I don't know if you guys happened to watch the Fed commentary that was on the 12th. Just recently, they had another meeting and, he reads off his little piece of paper. And then my favorite part of the whole entire thing is usually he says something that's just totally off kilter from where the rest of the world is thinking. So I have one of these quotes that I'm going to put up. It's a very brief quote from what he said, and you and I are going to talk about it. And then we have an article from realtor.com as well. So Eddie, if you could throw that up on the screen, please, I would greatly appreciate it because I think everybody needs to see that. Make sure the sound is on so they can hear it. Hey, Clark the Realtor. Oh, by the way, before we get into it, Clark the Realtor has now been crowned a moderator. So y'all better be careful. Better be careful, man. He's got the band hammer now. So you can't get too saucy in the comments. All right, here we go.
Jolene. Hi, Chair Powell. Thank you for taking our questions. I'm Jolene Kent with CBS News. What's your message to Americans who are seeing encouraging economic data but don't feel good about this economy?
I don't think anyone knows, has a definitive answer why people are not as happy about the economy as they might be. And we don't tell people how they should think or feel.
All right.
I mean, that's
Turn it off.
People experience.
Turn it off. All right. So, of course, he's going to tell us how he feels about the economy. He doesn't understand it. I don't know why people feel bad about the economy right now. Really, grocery prices are insane. Home insurance policies are insane. Housing costs are insane. But he's just throwing his hands up the air, clueless. Not going to tell you how to feel, but they should feel great about the economy, according to Jerome Powell. Are you out of your mind? These people, in my opinion, live in a completely different reality than the rest of the world. We should be grateful that we're spending. I'm not joking. I bought a little bag of Stacy's pita chips for $8. $8. I didn't even want the chips, but it was for this one specific dish that I have. So I had to use the stupid pita chips and they didn't even have an off brand. $8 for this. I mean, groceries are out of their crazy. They kept saying, oh, we're going to build more multifamily units and that's going to bring down rents. Only a very small fraction of the United States is seeing rents come down. And then we have these corporations that are still buying the most affordable houses throughout the United States, but they're clueless on why we feel so bad about the economy. Am I wrong? What in the world? Who's happy? Who's going out the door and going, yay, I'm spending twice as much as I did for milk. Yay. I'm so happy that I'm paying double that I did last year for my homeowner's insurance policy. What planet is this man on? I just can't. I really feel like they'd sit up there and be like, how can we screw with people even more? I think they're just getting too comfortable. We're just gonna make things even more expensive and make it a little bit tougher for people. I don't know. Eddie, give me some comments of people, how they feel about that comment by Jerome. I mean, am I nuts? Because I mean, when he said that, I like literally like jumped off the couch. I'm like, is he insane? I get so mad. I get so mad. I know that like some other countries have it worse than we do. I'm not saying that. And you know, the housing issue isn't just in the United States. You can literally go anywhere in the world. Pretty much every country has this same issue, except for like Japan. But we're not set up that way. But the same thing in Australia. It's the same thing. Houses are really, really, really expensive. They don't have enough. People are having a hard time finding housing. A lot of people can't afford their rent. Same situation in the United Kingdom as well. So, I mean, I get it. Lady N says, sure, we are better off right now than Canada and some other countries. Yep. But inflation is still out of pacing salaries. Feels like corporations still have it all. Yep. They're keeping rates too high. Drop them and let everything drop. Then they want to ruin people's retirement but sometimes you got to take the hit. Okay. Here's the thing. Like if rates drop, I will get to that in just a second. I'm going to get to your comment in just a second. If interest rates drop for housing, right? And we have a tight squeeze on supply, what's going to happen is that makes it cheaper money for, first of all, smaller investors. I'm talking smaller and they only own 30 or 40 homes to be able to buy more houses. That makes it easier for them. And it's going to bring in more first-time home buyers, which we already have pent-up demand for first-time home buyers. The thing about that is that like there's some areas even first-time home buyers can't buy because of the insurance and the taxes. So, the only people that can buy them are institutional investors. It's crazy. So Proud Liberal 24 says stuff costs more, but my investments are at record highs. Yeah, I know. And like everybody's like, I'm not telling you to do this by any means. I am not a financial advisor, but there were some investments that people said you should get rid of them. They're taking, and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna hold on to them. And now they're like performing well. And I was like, that is just like housing, by the way. Like you hold on to something long enough, sometimes, it all pans out. It all evens out. Gary Reed said, there are a lot of companies gouging the average customer. You need to shop around for everything that's overpriced. Not only are they gouging the price, right? Because my daughter and I do this thing where we'll take out all the sale flyers and compare the pricing. But if you actually look at the shrinkflation, you can I literally bought a tube of the same deodorant I buy all the time, right? And let's just say the tube normally is filled up to here. Well, now it's filled up to here. There's literally this much plastic empty. The thing is, the bottle's clear. You can see that half the bottle's empty. So I'm digging through the trash of the old bottle, and yeah, it's like a half an ounce less than it was in the new packaging. And then of course they will put on their new look, but there's less product in there. There's so much, like even cake mix. You get a cake mix and it says 15-ounce box of blah, blah, blah. Well, it's like 13.5 ounces now. And that messes up your whole recipe because you're supposed to add this cake mix in, and you know how bakers are, the measurements have to be right. But they say, oh, it's still the same. You still use just as many eggs and oil and all that other stuff. Well, what are you taking out? Why is it less? And then when you go to pour muffins, there's less muffins you make. It's supposed to make a dozen. It doesn't make a dozen. It doesn't, like, your muffins are like this flat if it made a dozen. I don't know. But Jerome Powell is clueless on why, average Americans feel like, this is a great economy. You can't understand why people are so upset about the economy. And then somebody even said the freaking wages. Anyways, there's a lot of companies gouging the average customer. Yeah. Yep. You do have to shop around for every price. Yep. That is true. That is true. Happy Dad's Day to all, especially Eddie. Yeah. Eddie's a really good dad. He does everything for those girls. He spoils them rotten, like literally rotten. I'm the like iron fist, like do this, but Eddie's like the one that's like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I got this. I got it. Not happily, but he'll still do it. A pizza at Little Caesars used to be $5. Now it's $9. That's an average inflation rate of 40% minimum. Well, I mean, think of all the stuff that's more expensive. Like every once in a blue moon, I get hungry for a Big Mac meal. And I like to get that Big Mac and I like to throw the fries on there. First of all, the patty inside it now doesn't even fit the bun. It is so thin and small. And, it's mostly bread now. And then the cost, once you get that meal, it's like, you could have gotten that same meal at like Chili's, for the same price. I'm like, this is crazy. And then not too long ago, we went, maybe it was a year ago, maybe a little bit longer. We went to the Olive Garden, and when I got that bill, my mouth dropped to the floor. I'm like, this is not even real Italian food. I mean, come on. That was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous price for the food that we got. Unbelievable. Like no appetizers, no desserts, no like extra coffees. It was just a family of four eating. I mean, I don't even know how people do it. Like we rarely go out to eat anymore because it's so expensive. And then like, it's just not worth it when you can cook it better at home. Yeah. Japan has its own issues. Yeah, you're right. The housing is not its issue though, Notice the dollar rising. I did not notice the dollar rising, Tim. Did not. All right, we have an article that we're going to be putting up here. Clark the Realtor, I have to say, your name looks so good now, all highlighted up with that wrench. Look how fancy you are now. Yep. He has been crowned a moderator. I'm sure he's so excited. He gets the whole ability to ban anybody in the chat that's getting saucy, getting saucy. Yeah, he knows the truth, but he's full of it. Not Clark the Realtor. She's talking about Jerome Powell. If you ever really like, how it's one of those things, either you laugh or you cry. If you really want some like laugh or cry kind of stuff, just watch his comments after he reads his statement. And then when the press starts to ask his questions, he always fumbles over his words, man. Always fumbles over his words. It's wild. Clark the Realtor says, they say the job market is strong and unemployment is down. Yet I know people who have been applying for jobs, no avail for 8 months. This is true. And not only that, the jobs market numbers are where they were before the pandemic. So we're seeing cooling in the jobs market, which, is not necessarily a bad thing because it was overly wild. And that was some of the reasons why they kept not cutting rates. But they're still seeing, inflationary pressures other ways and blah, 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 blah. Well, quit making it hard on us. Yep. Lawnmowers says gas prices in Oregon and Washington's were nuts. $3.20 a gallon for premium in my town is $4.65 to $5.20 in Oregon and Washington. Oh, you should go to New York City or California. I mean, those gas prices I think one time we went to New York, I think it was like $7.76. I was like, I couldn't do it. But if I lived in a city like New York, I could take the, public transit everywhere. And that, that's one of those things, like you have to have a car here in the United States. If I was to replan the United States, I would have it designed where there would not be as many cars. Things would be a lot more walkable. When they decided after World War II to set up subdivisions and communities and everything, they made it so everybody had to have a car. You couldn't get anywhere until you had a car. And then like most families only had one car, and then there was no choice. You had to have two cars. So crazy. Yep. Question for Father's Day. Why do daughters never forget? When they think of their fathers, let them down and they'll never remember all nice things fathers do. Oh, true. My dad, you guys met him. My dad was on here, I think last Father's Day or the Father's Day before that. And he's a gem. He's a gem. He takes care of my mom really well. SB says global housing issue. I was surprised to learn that is more than just the United States. Yeah, it is. And Canada has had an issue with housing way before the pandemic. It was a big problem. And one of the ways that they tried to curtail it is for the last couple of years, they didn't allow for any foreign investors to buy any properties. Home prices still continued to go up. So who's to say that that was the right thing to do? I don't think it really stopped anybody from doing what they were doing. Yesterday, an appraisal was telling me that there's an office is very busy with new home purchases. Well, that's good. In some areas, a lot of appraisers are very busy with pre-foreclosures. That's my last video I just did. There's a guy out in Texas, and he shows all the houses he has to do the pre-foreclosure process. And if you guys don't know, when you're late on your mortgage for more than 90 days, they send out an appraiser to do what they call a drive-by appraisal. So they look at basically the outside condition of the house, and they take all the comps in the area and decide how much the house is worth at this time, with unknowing of the condition on the outside. Just basically what they call a drive-by appraisal, just to have a roundabout, so they can figure this out to file their paperwork on their end to file the foreclosure process. His area was like it's in Texas, San Antonio. It's in San Antonio and all the outskirts of San Antonio. Some very rarely, but sometimes he has to go into DFW because he's just seeing a lot more of these pre-foreclosures. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that taxes are very high. Property taxes are very high in Texas. A lot of people that have been looking for a job, like Clark the realtor said, there are many that have been applying. And because the way that the algorithms work, their application gets thrown to the wayside because they didn't do something that the algorithm wanted it to do. It never even hits a human being's face before that application is even seen. So people have been really going around and around trying to get a better job, and there just isn't better jobs. So some of them have to settle for jobs that are a lot less money. And then you add the homeowner's insurance on top of it. So if you've been out of work for a long period of time, or you're trying to do better, or you're at a job that you've been making the same income for the last 3 or 4 years, and you get that insurance bill and that tax bill in, a lot of people are starting to swim underwater. If you look at the credit card debt in the United States too, right now, people are maxed on their credit. So yeah, he gaslighted us. He did gaslight us. I don't know why you feel bad. What? Everything looks great. Just a little bit of pain. It's fine. You'll be fine. Yep. BlackRock is planning on opening a new stock exchange in Dallas, Texas. Yes. Food for thought. That is true. I saw that because they say that the fees and expense to be on the NASDAQ and, the traditional stock market, they say it's too expensive. So they're opening up their own stock market in Texas. I mean, what could go wrong? These people own so much. So why not just open up their own stock exchange? Yep. BlackRock, Citadel Securities backed Texas. Let's look at the name of it. Eddie, can you scroll up to the title again, please? Yeah. Texas SE Group to launch Texas Stock Exchange. Yep. That is true. It is true. Yep. The Citadel Securities plans to launch a Texas stock exchange in Dallas, going up against the established centric exchanges in a bid to attract global economies. Well, I mean, what could go wrong? The exchange has been raised about $120 million. Plans to file registration documents in the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commissions to start operating as a national securities exchange later this year. Texas SE says, said on Wednesday. I mean, again, when you laugh or you cry, those people own everything. And it was Blackstone and BlackRock are the same entity. They're just twins on the other side, you know? Brian Burwell says, you got to find ways to fight back against these companies. During the toilet paper famine a few years ago, that's funny. I bought a bidet. After the toilet paper companies shrank their squares, I still had a bidet. Yep. Brian, I have to tell you, I wish that more builders would start just building or putting in toilets that have a bidet. That was the year when the great toilet paper famine of 2020 started. My husband, I think we already had a bidet in one of the rooms, but we ended up putting it in all three bathrooms at that moment. It's a whole, like, I'm telling you, I don't know how I ever went without it. Now I'm just like, whenever I have to go out of town or stay at a hotel, I'm like, oh, I miss my bidet so bad. It's a whole new world, a whole new world. Eddie, if you could put up that article that from realtor.com, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Ooh. The Fed's latest interest rate decision could affect the housing market near breaking point. As expected on Wednesday, the Fed on Wednesday left the federal funds rate unchanged on the target of 5.25 to 5%. The U.S. Central Bank has now held the rates firm at a level for nearly a year after rapidly raising them from near zero to combat soaring inflation. In the remarks following the rate announcement, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said that inflation is eased substantially. According to who? We don't feel that. From its peak 2 years ago, but it conceded that inflation is still too high. Oh, thank you. Thank you for conceding that. It remains above the Fed's 2% target rate after the data earlier Wednesday showed the annual inflation rate at 3.3%. All right, let's go down to where the houses. All right. The fact that the Fed scaled back the number of rate cuts from 3 to 1, it's going to disappoint those who were hoping for a summer rate drop, says Bright MLS chief economist Lisa. All right, I'm just going to leave it at Lisa. Sorry. Mortgage rates, which have remained higher for longer, will likely remain high in the sixes until this year, later this year. Some home buyers have been sidelined by affordability challenges are going to wait until rates have come down to buy. Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, if you are on the fence of purchasing in some areas right now, at least the supply is up in a lot of areas. All right. The Fed's latest decision on interest rates came after the latest U.S. inflation released by the Department of Labor earlier this year. In a welcome surprise, the Consumer Price Index remained flat in May from the prior month. The index rose 3.3% from a year ago and slowed down to 3.4% annual rate recorded in April. Grocery prices were, this part makes me mad. Grocery prices were flat April and May, baloney, while gasoline dropped 3.6% on the month. Keeping the overall inflation in check, the report showed. More often than offsetting falling gas prices were rising shelter costs, which rose 0.4% on the month and 5.4% on an annual basis. Shelters accounts for a third of the CPI and is largely dictated by the trends in the rental market. Although most Americans are homeowners, the CPI calculates the housing costs and the owner's equivalent rent, which roughly speaking is what the homeowner would expect to pay each month if they were renting their primary residence. Equivalence, the owner's equivalent rent of the primary residence of 25% of the CPI. That category rose 0.4% from April to May and 5.6% from a year ago. I cannot afford the rent to this house. Eddie, we could not afford the rent for this house. There's no way. So they were saying the peak of the market is coming there. I guess you have to put everything in perspective, the whole entire nation. But I don't know of many areas that feel like rent is coming down. Matter of fact, I hear a lot of people saying they have to move because they have nowhere place to go because their landlord has raised their rent. And then a lot of landlords have to raise their rent because they got their tax bill and their insurance bill. Not all. Some of them are just greedy. I'm not lying. Let's be realistic. Jeanette says government lets government lie to gain power from our productivity. Inflation, they replaced beef with ground beef. They say it's like saying let the little people get by on cheap food. Well, have you ever noticed in the grocery store? I can. This is why I think a lot of us are unhealthy. If you look at the grocery store and the way it's set up, they put the produce on the right hand side, and it's all on the outside. Produce, real foods like beef, chicken, all that food that you actually have to cook is all on the outside. Cheese, milk, all the way around. All the stuff on the inside of those lanes is all that processed foods, processed foods. And I think that's all by design, it's attractive because we can't help ourselves. We just go each up and down all those aisles and we start grabbing stuff. You only go in there for 2 things and you end up with 10 things and probably more than half of it you didn't need. Everything's designed for us to buy more. Insurance and taxes are killing us, and people keep electing politicians that keep raising taxes and providing free stuff. It's not free, people. Us will always pay. Well, I get what you're saying, but I think that giving more corporate tax breaks is not the solution either. I think we need to tax these people because they took away the pension plans. They've taken away they don't get the regulations that they used to. They used to have to pay a lot more for our taxes. And then instead of we give them a tax break, which they can afford it, right? They can afford it. They're making the money. But then who has to take on that cost? Us as the taxpayers, because we gave all these corporate tax breaks. So some of it goes back to let's start taxing the corporations. It was Eddie, you can even look this up. Warren Buffett even said that he paid, I think, 120 million or maybe even more than that in taxes. And he said if all corporations paid the amount that we do in taxes, there would not be as many problems as there are. He said everybody needs to be paying their fair share, and they're not. These corporations have found every loophole under the sun to not have to pay their fair share. And if you can find that quote, I'd greatly appreciate it. I know I'm asking you to dig for something. Yeah. I know there's no free lunch. I get it. But in some way, shape, or form, some of this could be balanced out. And, they don't lobby to make it easier for the little guy. They lobby to make it harder for us and easier for them. Oh, look at that.
Owns a part of the earnings of the business we make. They don't own the assets, but they own a percentage of the earnings. And they can change that percentage any year. And the percentage that they've decreed currently is 21%. And I would say with the present fiscal policies, I think that something has to give. And I think that higher taxes are quite likely. And the government wants to take a greater share of your income or mine or Berkshire's, they can do it. And they may decide that someday they don't want the fiscal deficit to be this large because that has some important consequences, and they may not want to decrease spending a lot, and they may decide they'll take a larger percentage of what we earn, and we'll pay it. And we always hope at Berkshire to pay substantial federal income taxes. We think it's appropriate that a country that's been has been as generous to our owners. It's been the place. I was lucky. Berkshire was lucky it was here. And if we send in a check like we did last year, we sent in over $5 billion to the U.S. federal government.
5 billion.
800
5 billion.
He's had done the same thing. No other person in the United States would have had to pay a dime of federal taxes, whether income taxes.
They cut it off right there. Cut it off right there, Eddie. If they all paid their share, we wouldn't have to pay a dime in federal taxes. I mean, that right there, that comes out of that man is a billionaire. And he knows that these companies aren't paying. He knows. And he's like, if they were doing what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't be in this hot mess that we're in now. But the way the policies are orchestrated, the way the lobbyists work, is that they don't have to pay as much. I mean, there are people that make millions of dollars more than we do that pay a heck of a lot less in taxes than we do. And why is that even, how does that even make sense? You're rewarding people because they had more aptitude, like the people that really need help are the ones on the lower part of the economic ladder, right? Those are the people that really need the tax breaks. But, the wealthy get more tax breaks? That makes no sense to me. I mean, call me crazy. We had the washlet toilet in Japan. It was amazing. A fancy toilet in bidet and toilet combo. Ooh, I'm gonna have to look at that up. Is that a thing, Eddie? Can we get a washlet? Is it like I saw these ones in Italy I was a teenager and we were in Italy, and it was a separate toilet bowl bidet thing. And I didn't know, it didn't have a seat on it or anything. You just kind of plopped your whole tushy in this bowl, and all the water squished around. I didn't get on it. I didn't know what that was, but I was like, I wonder if that's the same thing like the washlet, because it kind of just does a little swirly swirl. I don't know. I have to look that up. There was a bill introduced to abolish the Fed. Probably no chance of that passing. That's like saying that we're going to stop. There should be a bill to stop all of our senators and House of Representatives to investing in the stock market. Do you think that bill will ever pass? Absolutely not. Would everybody in the United States be in support of that because they have the best numbers when it comes to the stock market? I think most of us would be like, yeah, they shouldn't be investing in the stock market because it's like insider trading. But oh, no. No. That bill's never going to see the light of day. Oh, look, there's the washlet. Thank you, Eddie. The washlet. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't realize my camera was in the wrong direction. So Warren never took a tax break? Oh, I'm sure he did. Oh, absolutely. No, there's no doubt about it. Of course he did. And of course, in a way, if it's there, why wouldn't you do it? If it was there, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, you're not going to sit on some moral high ground and say, you know what? I just want to pay more in taxes. I get it. Yep. Proud Liberal 24 says, why lowering the rates just makes the price of homes skyrocket? Because what happens is there's already pent up demand for homes. So when you have a squeeze in the amount of homes that are available, and when you see interest rates drop, that makes it easier for people to afford the payment of the home. People are payment driven. And so when the payment percentage goes down, that means that it gives them a couple $100 extra towards buying a house because that payment is a little bit lower. So it loosens up the market, especially for people that were thinking about selling, right? So they're like, okay, now we can buy again because the interest rates are now, let's live in utopia, are 4.5%. And we're willing to give up our 2.8% to get into a bigger, better house. But what is happening now is that a lot of people that were going to sell or thinking about selling or wanted to sell, they're kind of in this weird predicament in the fact of, well, I would love to sell, but I can't even afford the house that I live in currently at today's interest rates. Because that once you add those interest rates to the payment, it's so much more than they were, they have budgeted for. So if you lower that rate, it loosens up the housing market a little bit to add more supply. Some areas are seeing a lot different, markets right now. They're seeing a loosening of supply. My market has loosened up quite a bit. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this, Louisiana is the #1 state for the amount of homes that are underwater. #1 state. And, housing isn't unaffordable here. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I think Louisiana is the #1 state for houses underwater. It's the insurance. It's the insurance. Because flood insurance, first of all, goes up every single year. And everybody got hit really hard after 2016. We had a really big flood here. And then insurance got up really high. A lot of people had to sell then. So you add the flood insurance policy. Then you add your homeowner's insurance policy, which was now double than it was the year previous. Then you add your property taxes because home prices went up. A lot of people can't afford that. And incomes in Louisiana are not like the rest of the United States. I think our median income here is like $28,000 a year for a single person. I think maybe it might even be less than that. Yeah. Warren once made a big stink about the secretary being taxed at a much higher rate than he was. Yeah, he's made some comments about that. Despite record profits in 2021, many corporations are barely paying any taxes. See? Like Amazon's paying 6.1%. ExxonMobil is paying 2.8%. ExxonMobil is paying 2.8%. And they'll say, well, the reason that they're only paying 2.8% is so they can keep your cost per gallon down. Ford Motor Company is 1%. General Motors is 0.2%. And they made $9.4 billion. MetLife, 1.3%. Charter Communications is 0.2%. 0.2%. That's all they pay in taxes. I'm sure many of us would love to pay 0.2% in federal taxes. Dow Incorporated is through negative. How are they negative? Negative 3%? Are we giving them money? Are we giving them money? Is that what we're doing? They don't have to pay anything and we give them money to run their corporation? That's nauseating if that's the case. I don't know what that means. I'm not an economist. Not at all. I'll have to look into that a little deeper. So gross. So gross. Nike Incorporated. Oh, at least Nike's doing 5.9%. And then the United Parcel Service, 9.9%. They're paying more than the gas company. They're paying more than Amazon. The people that deliver the damn packages are paying more than the people that are making them pick up the packages. Unbelievable. Somebody said, can you spell subsidy? Wow. And sometimes this depresses me when you start when I'm filming these videos and researching it, when you start peeling the layers of the onion away, you realize how rotten the inside of that onion is. And it's like, where are the grown-ups in the room? I say that to my husband all the time. Something will come out or somebody will say something or he'll quote somebody that said something. And I'm like, where are the grown-ups? When I was growing up and I watched the news and there were politicians, at least they pretended to be grown-ups. None of these people are grown-ups. Why do they all act like children? Where are the grown-ups in the room? They're supposed to be helping us. That's what we hired these guys to do. And they're not doing it. Yep. Question, are most Americans homeowners? This is true. It is. Yep. 40%. 65.6% of Americans are homeowners. Okay. And I'm just going to say something really quick. Hold on. 47% of Americans have lived in their home for more than 6 to 10 years. 35% of homeowners have lived in their homes for 10 to 15 years. 16% have lived in their homes for less than 5 years. The average length of home ownership is 8 years. The median home tenure is 13.2 years, and 3-year increases over a decade, last decade. California homeowners stay in their homes the longest. Okay, so here's the thing though. Even if, let's just say you own your home outright, you've worked your whole life, right? You had that pension, you're on Social Security, and you've owned your home, and you haven't had a mortgage payment in like 5 years. You still have to pay property taxes. You're still going to have to pay for health insurance. You're still going to have to pay for your homeowner's insurance. There's still like costs, right? And the way that a lot of people have budgeted for their retirement, it was based on, normal inflationary projections, basically. And a lot of them are having to choose to have to sell their home because they can't afford the taxes and they can't afford the property insurance, because most people logically would never expect their homeowner's insurance to go from $2,000 to $6,000. And if you live in Florida, some insurance companies don't even have to, I'm not even saying some, in Florida, you do not have to have a reason to drop somebody from the policy. This is one of the few states that say, you know what, if insurance policy company doesn't want to hold you as a policy holder anymore, even though you've paid for the last 30 years on time, they could just drop you. And if you do have a mortgage in any way, shape, or form, you're required to carry a homeowner's policy. So when you're looking at this, a lot of people just are kind of throwing their hands up in the air. You got to also remember that a lot of people own several houses. So we're going to look at the other spectrum. There's some people that have 2 or 3 houses and they're all paid for. So, I mean, that goes into the equation of 65% of people own their homes. I mean, I'm considered a homeowner, but I still have a mortgage that I have to pay. All those costs add up. Why do they get tax breaks if they're making millions in profits? If I had the answer, lady, I'd give it to you. Like, the world is a crazy place. I will stick to wiping myself. Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's not for everybody, to each is their own. That's for sure. And sometimes I think about like, how much water does that actually use? And I'm like, in some areas they have a water shortage. But then I'm like, but it feels so fresh and so clean. So for right now, I'm going to continue until there's a problem. Yeah. We won't jump the ship a little bit. That was about the bidet. That was about the bidet. And Exxon and other oil corporations get subsidies on top of the tax cuts. So they're getting our money. Yes. And then we have to beg them to bring oil prices down. And they toy with us all about that all the time. Whenever the things aren't going their way, they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and make gas prices higher. They just toy with us. We're all just like, I don't know. It just makes me so sad. Not sad. I'm actually not sad. I get ticked. I get really pissed. 322 watching. Have you smashed that like button yet? Thank you, Debbie Brady. It is Father's Day, and I have to appreciate everybody. Please wish Eddie a very happy Father's Day. He is a fantastic father to his girls, and he is all those questions that pop on the screen is because Eddie puts them up on the screen. Whenever you see an article come on the screen, or he brought up Warren Buffett's quote saying that, corporations need to pay their share. That's Eddie. Eddie does all of that. So I'm just the talking, blah, 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 blah. I'm the one that has the diarrhea of the mouth, but he does all the work in the background. Jeanette McDonald says, all studies of corporate profits show record profits from charge what the market will bear. Making one meal at a cuts their profits, gives us health span. It's a twofer? Twofer. Oh, it's a twofer. We stay healthy for years. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to, if we're not eating out, we're not eating as much junk food. McDonald's used to be, though, the thing that, whenever you're broke, there were 2 places, like back in the day when Eddie and I were like broke. We would, for our special occasion, we would go to McDonald's and we would go to Taco Bell. and like what she's saying is charge what the market can bear. But who's actually buying it, right? It used to be people that were on, had limited limited incomes. They had limited incomes. Those people can't afford it anymore. So they're losing some of their customer base because they're charging so much. Is it this, like, are they just charging what the market can bear if you have money? It's a weird world. It's a weird world, I have to say. I don't know. If the thing is if we can make more meals at home and have more family time, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. That would be the positive spin on inflation. I have to say that my kids have been cooking more, a lot more, and I enjoy that. My daughter has made these little oh my God, I can't even believe I can't remember the name, but it's a French cookie. It's really difficult to make. Eddie, put it in the chat. What's the name of that cookie that she makes? That's slipping my mind. The poll says, do you think the Fed is doing a good job? 14% say yes, 72% say no, and 15% said they don't know. Yeah. The thing is I don't know if our chairman is the best figurehead to be answering the questions from the press. Because like I said, he reads that statement, and that goes on for about 10, 15 minutes. He reads that statement, and then he tries to, that's it. Those are the cookies she makes. What are those called, Eddie? Oh, macarons. Yeah, they are difficult to make. And she took 2 weeks to like master it. And we live in a highly humidity filled area. So she, like, for her to master that in South Louisiana and them turn out light, fluffy, and perfect with a perfect bite. She made this chocolate espresso macaron. Oh, I'm telling you, next level. My kitchen looked like garbage for 2 weeks. Poor Eddie. Like I said, he's a good dad. He cleaned up her whole mess every single time. Every single time. Eddie's actually even barbecuing today too. He insisted that he was going to barbecue. Yep, macarons are difficult to make. My other daughter's been making, just to kind of save on costs. We've been going to the sale papers for like meats and stuff, and that's how we decide our menu for the week when it comes to groceries. And whenever we decide those meats, then like chicken and stuff is for sale, and then that's what we decide what we're going to make for the week. So we have dinner every single night, and then I overmake it, so I put it in the freezer so we have dinners. We've been eating out a lot less because of the cost of food prices, and but I don't know why but Jerome Powell doesn't know why we're so upset about inflation and the economy. The only fast food place that still seems to be busy is Chick-fil-A. Mickey D's seems to be only busy at breakfast. Yeah. I mean, but like, look at the cost of an Egg McMuffin, for goodness sakes. It's a piece of bread, a thin piece of Canadian bacon, a piece of processed cheese, and an egg. And you're going to have me pay over $5 for that? Is that worth $5? In my opinion. I'll make it at home. Joseph Lee said, why the surprise? Of course they are going to try to make things harder on purpose. Their stated goal for the past 70 years is depopulation. They want useless eaters gone. Well, let me just put it this way, though. They're crying about depopulation now. People are having less children than they've had. This is the first time in history we've had depopulation. And they're whining about it because then they don't have more people in the workforce. You have depopulation. That means you have a shrinking economy over time. That means that years from now, the economy will shrink because you have less workers to fill those jobs. They don't really want that. Bless the Father's Day. Yep. Bless the Father's Day. Yes, when the British were rationing for sugar, etc., they had more lean muscle, fewer heart deaths. Yeah, you know what? Sugar is not like, I'm a sugaraholic. I do love me some sugar sweets. I do love them. And I'm kind of embarrassed every time I have to go buy another thing of sugar. I should eat a lot less. And I know it's bad for you. It's bad for your skin, bad for your teeth, bad for your overall health. Yep, it makes sense. Now, again, Taco Bell for the three of us is nearly $50. That is true. That is true. Like, and then I'm so cheap. I'm like, okay, well, we'll get just the main thing. We're not going to get the meal, right? We're not going to get the drinks and stuff like that. And it's not the meals really. I mean, that of course that adds to it, but just to get the tacos and stuff, no drinks, it's still super high. Yeah, wicked high. The amount that we have tolerated as far as the economy is concerned, whether it be housing, food, and insurance, I feel like we're all so under pressure. Something has to give. I have no idea what the thing is going to be. Are they going to mess with the jobs market? Are they going to make those numbers like disappear? Because, like a bunch of corporations say, you know what? We're just going to lay off a bunch of people and not hire anyone. And they could do it. They could do it tomorrow. And then things start, falling apart because more people get underwater and they have to sell their homes. And then we have another crash. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody has the magic crystal ball to say what it is that's going to pop, but something has to give. Something does. Clark the realtor says it's difficult for someone of wealth like Jerome to relate to understand what someone is going through in this economy who doesn't have a similar financial background. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, and, Eddie and I have been, we've done really well at times and we've done really bad at times. Before the last crash, my husband was laid off from his job and we had just moved here. We moved to a brand new state. We had no family here. He gets laid off from his job and I'm a brand new realtor in a new town, in a new area that nobody knows me. Talk about, we had two small kids and I had to work and he had to work and nobody was buying houses at the time. I mean, we did everything we could to stay afloat. This is how my kids know how to look at the sale paper, and people that live a different life will never understand that kind of struggle. Never. And I'll never forget it. Once you live it once, you'll never forget it. I mean, that was terrible. That sucked. Yeah. Bread is expensive. Let them eat macarons. Yeah, no, I made my own bread. I learned how to do that during the pandemic. Yep. Egg McMuffin is about $5 in DFW. I think it was just under $400 in Portland. Yeah. Well, you go to some of the other states, it's always going to be more expensive. Like if you go to New York City, a Egg McMuffin's probably like $7 or $8, I bet. The answer is there is no grown-ups in the room. And that's the part that scares me. There are no grown-ups in the room. There's supposed to be lots of grown-ups that are a lot smarter than the rest of us that are supposed to be running the room. And there hasn't been for a very long time, and it makes me nervous. Overjoyed says they wanted a depopulation due to the potable water supply. Oopsie. Be careful what you wish for. Look at the one child policy. China's in big trouble now. Yeah. So yeah, that you're right. And so because of that, they had all this excess male population. Now there's another movement in Korea where they're not having kids at all. They're not even getting married. They just decided, you know what, we're not participating. And that's causing a big problem there. I bought an In-N-Out for me and my family of 4. Turned out to be $90. In-N-Out's not cheap. I went there in California. I don't know what the big deal is, honestly. Their fries are the worst. And I know people are going to probably be like, it's amazing. I would rather a Whataburger any day of the week. In-N-Out is just meh. I like a shake. What is it? Shake Shack? I like that. I like that better than In-N-Out. Like people freak out, wait in line. I'm like, you can have it. I don't think it's that great. Yep. It says, yeah, we try and not eat out as much, but still calculated almost $6,000 last year. And I don't even think that's that hard to do. Right. Like we're not the kind of family that goes out to Starbucks. We're not those people. We never eat at Chipotle. you know, even on road trips, I pack 2 coolers full of food. No joke. So that when we have enough food on the road trip and we have enough food when we get there. So that way, like in the morning when we wake up, we don't have to go and get something. We can just grab something out of the cooler. All that stuff like adds up. And, you know, it doesn't take long just from little things. Like you're just thirsty and you stop by the convenience store to grab something to drink really quick. And then of course, then you're like, oh, I'll have a candy bar too. All those little purchases add up. I'm sure it's very easy to get to $6,000. Oh, Renita, thank you so much. She said she loves the show. Yep. Ripple Snake says, as far as the corporations paying their fair share, careful what you wish for, because the outcomes of corporations paying enough taxes so that you wouldn't have the outcome you think. No, I'm not saying, okay, let me just put it this way. I'm saying that there needs to be more balance on what they pay. I'm not saying they should cover everything. Of course not. That's stupid. What I'm saying is there needs to be more fairness. And like, this is one of those things that you sit at night, and when you're a kid, you're watching television, and at the beginning of the show, you have a bad guy that does something, and at the end of the show, the good guy wins, and there's always something fair. And of course, as you grow up, you find out things aren't fair anymore. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't want it, right? I want people to want it, like to make us think about it. Because somebody, not paying hardly anything, or us giving our tax dollars to them so they don't have to pay anything, nothing, it's killing us. It's a lot of people pay a boatload of money. But if you make more money, if you as an individual make more money, if you're at that top tier, you're paying less in taxes than me. How is that fair? How is that fair? I don't know. Like, I know that makes me sound like some people are just going to get all up in stink, like, oh, they've earned that right because they made all this money and everything else. But it doesn't flow back into the market like they said it would. It doesn't happen the way they said it. They just keep that money. They don't go out and spend it. They've already spent it on everything they want. They hoard money. Ooh, I got a $9.99 super sticker. Thank you. I got a super sticker. On my end, I like the way that this stream is set up. I can't super chat. Thank you. I can't see the actual sticker. I can't see the actual sticker on my end. I wish I could. Maybe is it something dancing? Is it like a dancing duck? Geneva says, I have a question. You probably can't answer because we're on a different subject. My mom's house is closing on the 26th. It was a VA loan, but now they switched to FHA. How can they do that midway? Oh, it's totally fine. This happens a lot. What happens is that they're going through the entire process, and then they find out maybe something with the payment, or like VA was taking too long or something like that. And they switch lenders. So the buyer's agent and the seller's agent have a discussion, they'll talk to the sellers and say, hey, the buyers need to switch in order to close with a new loan package. And it's just a quick addendum, and they can do that. If they, you can, thank you. Oh, we got another super sticker. Thank you so much. I want to know what they look like, man. Chameleon, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Oh, we got a $10 super chat. Wow. Super chat. Thank you. We pay for our life through our wages, but the Fed has a wage inflation metric for calculation, which is one true inflation or unaffordability. It seems like we are at a direct odds with the Fed. Always. And, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Jerome Powell's, and I don't like the way he explains things. And a lot of times when he says one thing on a sheet of paper and then asks for clarity on that sheet of paper, you can even watch the stock market when he talks. It's not when he reads a statement. It's when he actually has that one-on-one conversation with the reporters. Watch the stock market go like this because he says such wacky stuff. Oh, it looks like a dancing cat. Oh, I love cats. Oh my God, you guys. I shouldn't say this out loud because my parents are going to kill me. But we got another cat. I got it for my daughter, though. I got it for my daughter. We have 9 cats now. We have 3 dogs and 9 cats. I know you think I'm insane, but I can't stop saving them. And we have a lovely home for our cats. It's not a hoarder situation. We have lots of litter boxes. They're very well taken care of. Karen says she doesn't eat out. It's because it's too high. Thank you. So again, Soli, I appreciate this super chat. It's nice to get those super chats. Eddie, they're really for you. I'll give you a you can go out and play golf with the super chat since it's Father's Day. Since it's Father's Day. I hope everybody has had a wonderful time here on the stream today. I know that it's Father's Day, so I want you to spend time with your family. We are wrapping this up exactly at 1 hour. So we've just hit the 1 hour mark. And I want to say thank you to Debbie Brady, Lawnmower, and Clark the Realtor, our newest moderator. He has now been crowned, and for keeping the chat clean. It's been a great conversation today. I appreciate every single one of you. We'll be doing this again. If there's anything you'd like to talk about next week in the next live stream, make sure you put it in the comment section below. If you want to listen to this as a podcast, you can go to anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and you just type in my name, Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone, and you can listen to this one as a replay. All right, everybody. So long. Farewell. Eddie, do we have some closing music that you want to leave everybody with? Happy Father's Day. Oh, this is what complete. Drop.